27 years, me and Deanne have been married, and we have two amazing children. Dee was an amazing mom. She was an amazing wife. I was busy, just more at work as an entrepreneur. I was also involved with Pastor Wayne as he was starting up New Hope Oahu. So amazing, busy time.
I'm a pastor's kid. We started going to New Hope Aina Haina. My dad started that church when I was around 3 or 4, I believe, which turned into New Hope Diamond Head and what's now C4.
When the kids were young, it was just a sweet time. I remember having these windows, like I would tuck them in at night and just read to them or massage their feet. And we used to just have this awesome routine. And I remember, just because I was involved in youth ministry, that I kind of had dreaded the whole adolescent years. And so I had read up on books and just really was dreading just this years when you know that there's gonna be this push and pull.
My dad is driven and disciplined and firm and direct, and definitely thrives in environments of winning and achieving, whereas I more thrive in this safe, calm place, and I thrive on unity, and I'm definitely less direct. So just starting with that, we're almost on complete opposites of the spectrum in terms of our personality, which kind of gives us a little bit of a rough foundation for communicating.
For several years, I was primarily fixated on his performance in school. Education was, when I look back at it, was almost like an idol.
I started to do poorly in school around the 9th grade in biology class.
I think for me, in my temperament, it's like, oh, you just press, you apply more discipline. And the more I began to push, the more he began to withdraw. One of the nights before the exam, I sat him down and I just laid into him. You know, I was frustrated, and if you could imagine my intensity and his temperament, it really was not the best thing to do. And the Lord just really spoke to me about how you think you're helping, but you're actually hurting. Out of my own brokenness, out of my own unhealth, I was actually contributing him to not do well. Even though I had the best intentions, I was very insensitive or immature about how he was receiving it.
So it kind of just brought up this sense of resentment towards him. And in all of that, I felt like I was just drifting away and drawn away from him and didn't want to be around him.
We would ride in cars together, and you know, he would put on his earbuds and there would just be like this invisible wall. I just definitely knew there's a growing distance in our relationship.
I think at that time I felt like I didn't need him, or that I just out of my anger or frustration didn't want him in my life.
I didn't really understand the degree that I was actually hurting and damaging him.
My mom was definitely that safe space where I would run to and vent or just share what I was feeling or what was said, and I just communicate to her that I was frustrated, angry, didn't like him.
And it got to this point where, you know, she sat me down and she just said that I needed to do something different because my son's heart was getting hard, and she was afraid that at some point in time the relationship would break and he would become unreachable. At that point, I really began to pray to the Lord to show me what I needed to do differently, and I was just in a place of desperation, and the only place that I knew that I could run to was Jesus. The Lord brought a counselor into my life, and through that process, I think the first step that really helped us in our reconciliation was for me just to work on myself first, for me just to become healthier. So in the process of my counseling, I really began to understand my performance mindset, my own intensity, the impact that I can have on others. I knew the things I was doing wasn't bearing fruit, so I was just open to just trying new things. I just knew that it started with me taking the step of acknowledging that we're not in a good place and asking for his forgiveness. So I just went out and, it was awkward, but I shared that with him. And I could just see this glimmer of life in his eyes. And I said, oh my God, this is something that I've been missing my whole life. And that began just this spiral of me beginning to discover just all of the value that he had that was completely missing from my life.
I saw his heart really begin to change when he started speaking kind of this different language towards me. He would say sorry a lot. He would say I love you a lot. He would affirm me in a lot of the things I did and just say that I was better than him at relationships or things like that, where it made me feel valued and secure in myself. It didn't change overnight. I didn't fully break down my pride and say, like, I'm sorry for everything at this one point, but it was kind of just this slow journey and step towards healing where things were definitely awkward at times, but just by spending time with each other, beginning to talk more to each other, things got better. And over time, we both knew that we were headed in the right direction, and we both spoke and said to each other that we were sorry and that we both wanted to enter this season of healing and restoration.
In all of the relationships that Jesus has for us, what he did for us is it starts with mercy. It starts with forgiveness, because that's what Jesus did for us. The transformation of what God wants to do in our families, it starts with us forgiving much because we have been forgiven much. So as we allow the Spirit of his blood, his mercy to come into our families, I'm so confident that he'll be faithful as you draw near to him, as you remain in him, that he will direct your steps because he cares for your son and your daughter and your wife or your husband more than you could ever care.